Hello everyone, it's JB Pirate here. Today I wanted to make a video introducing my custom 1v1 map Tunisian Pass for Company of Heroes 3. In making Tunisian Pass, I was inspired by the various battles that took place between January and March of 1943 in central or western Tunisia between various mountain passes which were crucial for the Allied forces in their drive to Tunis. In my map, you'll find that the central Oued or Wadi cuts right down the middle of the map, and on either left or right side you're surrounded by high mountains. The central part of the Oued is dry, but the sections near each base are flowing slowly. These areas filled with water don't give negative cover like in previous Company of Heroes games, but you're not able to build defenses like sandbags or tank traps or mines there. There are large rocks that roughly define the areas of the Oued along its path throughout the map, and these serve as blockers. So part of the challenge of playing the map is maneuvering between them and choosing which lane to travel through when taking the fight to the enemy's half of the map. Now let's talk about the gameplay. Tunisian Pass is equivalent to the other two competitive 1v1 maps made by Relic, Road to Tunis and Twin Beaches in its size. The combat area is 320 meters squared, but with the bases in the corners of the map, this has opened up a broader front line and the map does feel bigger than Road to Tunis. The HQs are about 280 meters from each other, and each HQ is about 200 meters from either contestable fuel point, which are situated in the left or the right side corners. Compared to Road to Tunis, the HQs are 280 meters distance, and the contestable fuels are either 170 meters or 230 meters away. On Twin Beaches, the bases are 320 meters apart, and the fields are about 130, 165, or 220 meters from either HQ. The territory layout of Tunisian Pass is inspired by crossroads from Co 1 and Co 2. The map is divided into 4 quadrants. Here the Allied quadrant, Axis quadrant, and then we have the upper quadrant and the lower quadrant here. Each player has 10 fuel and 15 munitions connected directly to their base, and then we have the meaningful strategic points act as cutoffs into each of the quadrants. So for example, this player 1 quadrant this player 1 cutoff cuts off this upper quadrant, this player 1 cutoff cuts off this lower quadrant, and so on for the Axis player. While the VPs and fuels are equidistant from each base, both players have a slightly safer half of the map divided by the central Oued. This is because the cutoff point for the upper quadrant is slightly further away from the center than the other 2 points. However, the less safe quadrant offers a convenient capping order, with one squad going first to the fuel, then the cutoff, and then the opposing high munitions. And then a second unit can easily come in and take this plus 10 munitions, followed by this one, and then eventually onto the fuel. Taking the easier half of the map presents a bit more of a difficulty in a capping order. On the one hand, your safe strategic point is here, but it leads directly to this plus 60 munitions point, which for some factions will take a bit longer to capture. Setting a secondary unit to take this munitions point here and this fuel point here kind of distracts you from taking this part of the map. However, if you are like the DAC or the Americans with the Armor Company or the Wehrmacht, your second unit can easily be a capping unit, and you can send your first unit out to your strategic point, and you can send your ultralight vehicle all the way down the road to directly take the fuel point, because the fuel is directly connected to the cutoff via this pathway here. And of course, this is mirrored on the other side, where their cutoff here is directly connected to the fuel point here. Near the ends of the Oued, each player has a walkable rock that will give a height bonus against units standing in the center of the stream below. So that walkable rock for this player is about here, and you can fire into the center of the stream. And for the opposing side, the rock is about here, and it also lets you fire into the stream below. The height bonus shouldn't come to effect too often, because the rocks are so far from the center of the map. However, this should help players push out in this direction and guard this space from enemy units going for a deep flank, especially when you're fighting around the fuel. There is less heavy cover on the map compared to other Co 3 maps. However, each piece of cover is important. There are a few rocks that provide cover, and these rocks are indestructible, so they will always give green cover. You've got a couple of rocks here, towards the end of each wed. There's also an impassable rock here and here, towards the end of the wet area of the stream. To balance this feature of the indestructible rocks, I've placed them more towards the periphery of the map, and these should help players break out or control areas that are important to them. So for example, these rocks and this one here help you contest this area of the UED, and the same goes for this space for the axis. And then we've also got a couple of rocks somewhere around here-ish. Not exactly sure because they're not on the minimap right, but they're far enough away from the fuels where you can't fire into them, but they're close enough where you can still, temporarily hide there or harass the fuels or prevent your opponent from flanking or breaking out. Many of the sandbags and ruins that act as heavy cover are also biased towards one side. Along the UED's defining rocks, for example, you'll find many of these that help players establish footholds on the opposite bank of the stream. So for the Axis player coming across, we've got some instances here. We've got another one around here, and there's I think a couple, there might be one here as well. There's a few around here, and then also we've got the same equivalent on this side for this player. There's 3 or 4 around here, and then there's a couple of square redoubts that are here highlighted on the minimap, and there's just sandbags that both sides can use to help push or defend each of these quadrants. Finally, I wanted to mention the map's lighting and atmosphere. The map slowly transitions between 3 different atmospheres. It begins as a misty night that transitions into a dawn, and then a bright early morning as the night fog evaporates and the sun rises above the battlefield. If you've made it to the end of the video, thank you for watching. You can download this map right now from the Steam Workshop. Just search my name, JV Pirate, or Tunisian Pass. You can also leave feedback here, or in the Company of Heroes World Builder Discord that I'll link below, or you can leave feedback in the Steam Workshop page for this map. Additionally, if you have any World Builder questions that aren't related to this, feel free to leave a comment below. I will read them and check them out. I am currently working on the tutorial series. I've had a bunch of things come up. It's a lot more complicated than I realized. I'm learning new things every day. There's a lot to unravel here, and even just scratching the surface, it just takes a lot of time to get through things, so bear with me for the time being. But like I said, if you have questions about the World Builder, leave a comment here, or join the Co World Builders Discord, and I can answer your questions there. Thank you guys, take care.